Hello children. Do you know, I'm really glad you've joined me this morning because I've got something really exciting to tell you about. You see, this weekend I had a special delivery. There was a parcel that came to my house. Now you might be thinking, well, that's very nice for you, Mrs. Bennett. It's probably all the chocolate that you've ordered from Amazon. But it isn't. And do you know how I know that it isn't? Because the parcel hasn't got my name on it. It's got your name. That's right. It's got your name on the parcel. Would you like to see it? Come on then, I'll show you. Here it is. Can you see? On the front it says, to reception children, Riverbridge Primary School in Staines. And can you also see here? This says fragile. Do you know what the word fragile means? That's right, it means that inside there must be something delicate that could break very easily. So we have to handle it with care. Should we have a look at what's inside? Come on. I'm going to open it very carefully because we know that inside is something that's fragile. Now, the first thing that I can see is a little message, a little note, and it says, please look after it. I wonder what that is. Okay, well, I'll put that down there and maybe we'll find out in a minute. Right, I can see in the box something has been wrapped very, very carefully. So remember, it's fragile, so I need to take it out carefully. It's a little bit heavy. I'm going to gently open. Children, you're not going to believe what it is. Would you like to see? Look. Wonder what that could be. It's fragile. It's quite heavy. What do you think it might be? Why don't you just pause the video and talk to your grown-up and think about what could it be in the box that's fragile, that we need to take care of and look after? Well, I'm just going to put this to the side over here very gently so it doesn't break, and I'm going to see if there's anything else in the box. Let me see. There is something else in the box, children. It looks like a book. Would you like to see it? Wow, it's quite a big book. And if I hold it up for you, it's a book called Tyrannosaurus Drip. What do you think the book might be about? What story could it be? You think it might be about dinosaurs? I think you could be right. So what does that mean about the other item in our box? What do you think it could be? Do you think it could be a dinosaur egg? Should we read the story to see if there's any more clues in there? Okay, let's listen to the story of Tyrannosaurus Drip. So here's the front cover of our story that we're reading today. And as you can see, it's called Tyrannosaurus Drip. What do you notice about the front cover? What can you see? I wonder what our story might be about. I can see two different types of dinosaurs here. What do you notice about the red dinosaurs? I wonder what they're feeling. I wonder what kind of characters they are. What about the little dinosaur? The green dinosaur. How do you think he's feeling? I wonder what kind of character he is. Let's read together Tyrannosaurus Drip. Now I've just spotted something on the very first page. What do you notice? That looks very similar to what we found in our package today. In a swamp beside a river, where the land was thick with veg, lived a herd of duck-billed dinosaurs who roamed the water's edge. And they hooted, "Up with rivers!" And they hooted, "Up with reeds!" And they hooted, "Up with bellyfuls of juicy water weeds." Now across the rushy river, on a hill the other side, lived a mean Tyrannosaurus and his grim and grisly bride. And they shouted, "Up with hunting!" And they shouted, "Up with war!" And they shouted, "Up with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaur." But the two Tyrannosauruses, so grisly, mean and grim, couldn't catch the duck-billed dinosaurs because they couldn't swim. And they muttered, "Down with water!" And they muttered, "Down with wet!" And they muttered, "What a shame that bridges aren't invented yet." Have you spotted what I've spotted? There seems to be a little nest with some eggs in there that look a little bit like ours. Now a little Compsognathus, but for short we'll call her Comp, found a duckbill egg and stole it from a nest beside the swamp. And she swam with it and ran with it and murmured, "Clever me! And won't the baby Comps be thrilled with duckbill egg for..." Uh-oh, whose leg is that? Tea! She dropped the egg in terror and went rushing for her life from the mean Tyrannosaurus and his grim and grisly wife. And the duckbill egg went rolling, and at last it came to rest in, of all unlikely places, the Tyrannosaurus nest. Oh dear. Now the mother tea had great big jaws and great enormous legs, but her brain was rather little, and she couldn't count her eggs. And she sang, "Hatch out, my terrors, with your scaly little tails, and your spiky little toothies, and your scary little nails." What can you see in the nest? I can see 2 eggs that look very similar and one that looks a little bit different. And why is that? That's right, one of the duckbill eggs has got into the wrong nest. Out hatched babies 1 and 2 as perfect as could be, but Mother Tea was horrified by baby number 3, and she grumbled, "He looks weedy," and she grumbled, "He looks weak," and she grumbled, "What long arms, and look, his mouth is like a beak." "He just needs feeding up," said Dad, and gave the babes some meat. The first 2 gulped and guzzled, but the third refused to eat. And he said, "I'm really sorry." And he said, "I simply can't." And he said, "This meat looks horrible. I'd rather eat a plant." "A plant?" yelled Mum in horror. And Dad said, "Get a grip." His sisters found a name for him, Tyrannosaurus Drip. And they shouted, "Up with hunting!" And they shouted, "Up with war!" And they shouted, "Up with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaur!" Poor Tyrannosaurus Drip tried hard to sing along, but the others yelled, "You silly Drip, you've got the words all wrong." For he hooted, "Down with hunting!" And he hooted, "Down with war!" And he hooted, "Down with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaur!" Drip's sisters soon grew big enough to hunt with Dad and Mum, but they turned on Drip and told him, "You're not fierce enough to come." And he cried, "They've gone without me." And he cried, "Alack-a-day." And he cried, "This doesn't feel like home. I'm going to run away." So he ran off to the river, where he saw a lovely sight. A herd of duck-billed dinosaurs all hooting with delight. And they hooted, "Up with rivers!" And they hooted, "Up with reeds!" And they hooted, "Up with bellyfuls of juicy water weeds!" As he stood there on the bank, a sudden urge took hold of him, and he jumped into the water and discovered he could swim. And the duckbills came to greet him by the rushy river's edge, and they hooted, "Nice to see you," and they hooted, "Have some veg." And Drip, who was delighted that they hadn't run away, ate bellyfuls of water weeds and played with them all day. And as he gazed into the river and he asked them, "Who, oh who, is that creature in the water?" And they laughed and said, "It's you." What do we call that when we can see ourselves in the water? A bit like when we look into a mirror. That's right, it's called our reflection. And there, Tyrannosaurus Drip can see his reflection in the water. That night the lightning crackled, and a storm blew down a tree, and it fell across the river, and the T's cried out, "Yippee!" And they shouted, "Up with hunting!" And they shouted, "Up with war!" And they shouted, "Up with bellyfuls of duck-bill dinosaur!" Oh, they look very excited, don't they? Because they think that they can get across the river. How do you think the other dinosaurs are feeling? That's right. They look a bit scared and a little bit worried, don't they? Drip's sisters stepped onto the bridge, but then began to frown, for there in front of them stood Drip, who yelled, "Look out! Look down!" And they looked into the water, and they each let out a yelp, and one cried, "Water monsters!" and the other one cried, "Help!" What can they see in the water? That's right, it's their reflection. Their mother scolded, "Nonsense!" and she joined them on the tree. Then she looked into the water and exclaimed, "Good gracious me!" The three of them stood trembling, and Dad said, "Get a grip! You're all of you as drippy as Tyrannosaurus Drip." He strode onto the bridge and scoffed, "I bet there's nothing there." Then he looked into the water, and he jumped into the air. Look, he can see his reflection as well. And how the duckbills hooted when he landed with a crash, and the tree bridge broke, and 4 Tyrannosauruses went splash. And spluttering and clinging to the branches of the tree, they went whooshing down a waterfall and all the way to sea. Can you see? There's Drip. He looks very happy, doesn't he, now, because he knows that he's safe and he's not going to be eaten. And the duckbills hooted happily. They hooted, "Hip, hip, hip! Hooray for the heroic one and only Duck-bill Drip." And there he is at the end. How do you think he's feeling now? That's right, he looks very happy and very proud for saving all his duckbill friends. Did you enjoy that story about Tyrannosaurus Drip? I know I did. And it's made me think, I wonder if this very delicate item that was in our parcel really is a dinosaur egg. And if it is, I wonder who sent it to us. And I wonder why there was a note saying, "Please look after it." What do you think? Now, if we're going to look after a dinosaur egg, I think we need to know a little bit about dinosaurs. Do you know lots already? Perhaps you do. Perhaps you know lots of facts about dinosaurs already. Maybe you know the names of the dinosaurs, what they like to eat. I have to tell you, I don't know very much about dinosaurs. So this week, I thought maybe we could go on a journey together to find out more. Now then, I've made myself a special badge. I'm just going to put this down very gently. Would you like to see it? Here we go. It's a very special badge that says Dr. Bennett, paleontologist. That's a long word, isn't it? Do you know what a paleontologist is? It is a doctor who knows lots about dinosaurs. Now, you might not have known that. Some of your grown-ups might have known it because of a very famous doctor called Dr. Ross Geller that they might have heard about. But you might like to make yourself a little badge. Would you like that? And then we can go on our journey together. Now, your first activity for today is to make something called a mind map. And a mind map is when we write down the things that we already know, and then we write down some of the things that we would like to know. And of course, our topic is all about dinosaurs. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. So here's the mind map that I've started. So I've written dinosaurs in the middle. I've put one side what I know, and on the other side what I want to know. Now, when we're learning about dinosaurs, some of the words are very, very tricky. So I wouldn't expect you children to use your phoneme fingers and sound everything out. So maybe you're grown-ups, you could talk to them and they could do the writing for you. Or maybe you'd like to write some of it and share it with your grown-up. But the idea is just to get all your thoughts down, all your wonderful thoughts down onto paper. What do you know already and what would you like to know? So for example, I've put here, I know that there's a dinosaur called a T-Rex or a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and I know that because of the story we just read. I also know that dinosaurs aren't around anymore because I haven't seen any, have you? I also think they might have very sharp teeth. I saw the sharp teeth in the story we read. But there's lots of things I want to know. I want to know, what did they eat? I want to know how big they were. And I want to know, how do we know so much about dinosaurs now when we perhaps haven't seen a real one? So all my questions I've started to put down. So maybe you and your grown-up can make your own mind map. You might like to draw a picture of a dinosaur to go with it and then take a photograph and send it in. I'm really looking forward to seeing the photos of the mind maps that you send in to your teachers, finding out what you already know about dinosaurs, but also thinking about what you would like to know. And then as we go on our journey together, I'll try and make sure that we answer some of those questions together. Now then, I've got to go because I'm going to go and put our egg in a very, very safe place because we promised to look after it, haven't we? Don't forget that you can make a badge to show that you're a paleontologist, a doctor of dinosaurs, just like me. And also, I'm going to put a link to a little video that you can watch to start your journey learning about dinosaurs today. I hope you have fun, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next step of our journey.